Welcome to this week's edition of the Construction CPA's Coffee Cafe. I am the Construction CPA, Lisa Raish. We are dropping the hammer on cash flow problems so you can build things that matter. All right, so this week's topic is going to be profit leak number 4, and we're going to talk about why contractors can't see their numbers fast enough. So many contractors struggle with being able to actually make decisions quickly because their financial reporting just arrives way too late. So what we really want to be thinking about when when we think about this topic is by the time I see the problem financially, it's already too late to fix. All right. So, how many of you feel like you are constantly finding out about your financial problems long after the damage is already done? Right. There are many of you, I'm sure, raising your hands. It is a very common problem. So today we're just going to talk about why the speed of your financial visibility matters to you just as much as it being accurate. So if the information comes to you 3 months down the road and it's, perfectly accurate, every penny is in every project like it should be, it doesn't matter. You almost don't have any chance to make any split-second decisions and make changes if you can, because the info just comes too late. So drop a comment if you want. I'm sure your delayed reporting has created frustration for you. So we'd love to hear from you. All right. So let's talk about why this actually matters to you as a business. It's just going to delay you. The reports delay you from making decisions. Sometimes everyday decisions, sometimes trying to make long-term decisions. As a contractor, because there's so much going on in your business, projects are moving along at such speed sometimes, you need that operational visibility. You've got to see what's going on in these projects. Again, you don't want to see what happened after the project is long gone and closed. Your monthly reports are great, but they alone are not enough to help you make decisions. And overall, just general financial visibility is going to protect the profitability on your projects, on your overall business, because without that, again, you're estimating that you're profitable, but you may in fact not be profitable, but you don't actually have the data to make that indication of it. So the faster you see that problem, the faster that you can protect whatever it is that you're trying to do. Protect the project, protect a number of projects, and so on. So what's the real problem here? It's that your financial visibility just happens way too late. It's too far down the road. The horse is out of the barn, right? You're halfway down the road. So let's talk a little bit about month-end reporting delays, right? We see that all the time. Your bookkeeping is probably incomplete. You're missing certain pieces of information. We see it a lot. Project-related information. We may have some of the general info, the financial info might be there, but we don't actually know what project it goes to, right? So you've got missing information from your field operations, from your PMs telling you, hey, this expense goes to that project or that project. And you end up with delays in your month-end reconciliations. You don't end up reconciling everything, or you don't do it quickly because I'm missing this info, I'm missing that info. I can't finish reconciling this project because I have a whole bunch of expenses that haven't actually been tagged to a project yet. So again, now you've got month-end reports that are coming to you late. It might be incomplete, missing information, and now it's come to you a month later, 2 months later, depending on how far down the road that you've gotten with your reporting. One of the things that we see pretty consistently across the board, and it does tend to happen a little too much in the smaller businesses, there's really no operational KPIs in these businesses. So you don't have any real-time operational KPIs, right? Your labor productivity. Are you actually being, are you within labor, what you've calculated for labor on your projects? Because you don't actually know, right? So you don't know how productive that you're being on these projects. Are you as far along on the project as you thought you were going to be, right? So you have no way in most cases in real time to determine what that is. The only time you can actually see it is when you're done with a project and you've looked, okay, these are all the expenses for the project. This is what we thought it would be. We're over, under, here, and there. So many of you just lack that visibility into where were the guys last week? Because you just don't know. You know that They put in X amount of hours, but do you really know what projects they were working on and where, exactly they were on different days, especially if you've got a number of projects going? Many of you don't necessarily know, real operational, that you don't really know what your cost to complete is. Sometimes it's a real kind of kludgy number that lives out here in the sky. So those are the kind of operational KPIs, key performance indicators that you want to be able to keep track of. What's your billing status? Have we billed as far as we can with this project? Are there milestones? Have we billed all the way up through the milestones? Are we billing on a monthly basis? If we are billing on a monthly basis, are we billing within the window for the contractor to pay it, like for the client to pay us? A lot of times the client is sometimes another GC, maybe is actually directly the client. Are you following, whatever the process is for those individuals to ensure you're paid in a timely fashion? So if you have to get your invoice to them by the 25th of the month in order to get paid, right? Are you doing that to ensure you're getting paid in that window, right? So you have no real way to look into that to see if we are doing what we should be doing. Your gross profit over time fades. Why? Because you're just not managing the overall costs on the projects, and you don't know what the gross profit on the project is. Not regularly throughout the life of the project. In many cases, the only time you're looking at it again is when the project is actually done. And again, you don't really have any opportunity at that point to make revisions, changes, things to improve things. And then the last thing is a lot of you just don't have the ability to determine your true cash position, do any kind of true cash flow projections, because you don't have the other tools in place. The project we don't necessarily know what cost to complete the project really is, how far we've built out, right? Those are all pieces of the puzzle that you need when you are building out that cash flow forecast. Those are the things you need to know. I need to know how much we've built up to this point, because I need to now project where the next billings are going to be and when we'll get paid and so on and so forth. So that all flows into each one of these things. Doesn't necessarily live in a silo by itself. Each feeds information to the other. And then with one without the other, in many cases, you don't actually have the ability to manage those real-time KPIs for your operations. And so you're just missing out on a lot of things. A lot of times leadership operates reactively, right? So it's something happens and now we react to it. So your decisions are just going to happen too late. Your problems, right? Those little problems start to grow over time. They grow quietly. They become bigger and bigger. Again, we talk about the snowball. It snowballs and becomes bigger and bigger. Again, you have a little problem on this project and that project and that. And then again, it grows and grows and grows. And now you're just reacting to something that's happened to you. And then, of course, your forecasting just becomes unreliable, because in many cases, you're reacting to things and you're not actually getting ahead of things. So sometimes the forecasting isn't actually an option. It's really hard to develop a forecast when you're only reacting to things after they've happened. So over time, your financial reports start to lose value. Just because you've got a proper P&L through month end April 30 doesn't necessarily mean it's helpful to you, because maybe it arrived too late or it doesn't have all the information you need. So it's really hard for you to influence operations when you don't actually have good real-time data to help you make those decisions. And so that's where we want to make sure that we've got real-time financial info that you can use to make decisions with. A lot of times your teams are going to operate without any kind of visibility into what the others are doing. So again, we're living in these silos. These things happen siloed in each of these places, but in reality, each one of them kind of needs to know where the other one is so that they can in fact do one piece of what they're doing and so on and so forth. So we see it a lot. Your accounting ends up being very disconnected from your operations, right? Your accounting has absolutely no idea what is going on a project. So it's hard in some cases to determine that you're missing financial information so that you have all the appropriate info, because you don't actually know where they are in a project. And then your projects, in many cases, your project managers just, in some cases, lack the financial context that's needed for a project. They're great project managers in terms of keeping the work moving, and we're on to the next piece, and we've got this person coming in, and that PM is managing the actual details of that construction project. but may not understand all those little pieces of that project have costs associated with them and how they're flowing into each other. So again, your accounting lives in a silo, your project management lives in a silo. And then at the end of the day, if your leadership is above, maybe you've got a little bit of management in play. You as the owner don't actually know what's going on because again, the PM's over here, accounting's over here, right? There's a lot of different silos. And as the leader, you just lacked clarity into what's going on across the board. So it's hard to help your accounting function build out forecasts. And again, it's hard to see exactly where you are on the projects and what's going on, what they've spent on them. So there's just a lot of visibility, like there is no shared visibility between these organizations internally and within your organization. And there really needs to be, because other than that, people are just operating kind of on their own, and it does make it hard. One person just doesn't know where they are on this other thing. And again, if you wait until you get to the close of the project to get all of these things to meet together, in many cases it's kind of that daily dollar short. You're out of options at that point, right? So how can you get more visibility, right? So what are some of the things that you as a contractor, as a construction company, a trade business, what do you need? You need a KPI dashboard. Each of you, in depending on the industry that you're in, some of the KPIs you're going to want to track is going to be different, but you need a dashboard that you can go to on a weekly basis and kind of see where you are with certain things. You need to have weekly financial reviews. Your financial review should not be happening a month after, 1 month after the month end, and now you're 6 weeks out from an actual month end. You really should be doing these reviews on a weekly basis to see where you are, who's been billed, what has been collected, what still needs to be paid, where getting that financial function to meet with the project and say, okay, where are we, so we can ensure that we're both, the project's 80% complete, the finance is still back here, and they didn't realize it, now they've only built out 50%. Again, right? We want to get those as close together as possible. We need to make sure we see kind of what the other is doing, make sure that we're all moving together. You're going to have faster month-end closes. If you're looking at this financial information on a weekly basis, then you're going to have a faster month-end close. And then that month-end information now will become important and will mean something, because again, you've gotten it quicker. You can actually see a whole month, but you've also seen what has happened every week and how that wraps up into the month. So again, you're not walking blind into the next month, the next project, etc. You're going to want to have real-time project tracking. Tracking the project again a month after a project could be complete or could be near completion. And so you want to have that more, what are the expenses coming through the project this week, right? That's important to you to see exactly where you are, where your spend is, what do you still have to collect, etc. And then you're going to want to have construction specific reporting, actual project reporting, project, budget to actual on your various line items. Those are things that are incredibly important. Your entity's overall profit and loss and your balance sheet are absolutely important. But in construction, those P&Ls for the actual individual projects are vital. You need to see exactly where you are on each project. Are you over and under on various line items? Learning from that information. Because that financial visibility really needs to become a part of your overall operational rhythm. It's not just getting out there and building that project. And it's not just this accounting compliance thing. It is part of the project. The financial costs of that project are part of the actual construction of that project. So they really need to live a lot more closely together. What are some of the things that you can do today, right? Some of those actionable tips and takeaways for today. First, you need to be reporting your KPIs weekly. You need to determine what KPIs you should be tracking for your portion of the industry, and that will change. But what are they for you? And you need to be looking at them weekly. Build simple dashboards that everyone can actually use. It needs to be for all of leadership, right? Not just leadership, and then also maybe there are some certain dashboards that are for team members too. They don't necessarily need to see all the minutia of what's going on in the business. But again, keeping the team up on what's going on in the project, right? How far the project is along, how far you expect it to be. Are you losing margin on it? Those are the kinds of things that again, you don't want everybody to know all of the things, but there's certain things, these simple dashboards that even team members knowing about could be super helpful. Need to improve your month-end close timelines. So that means that all that financial information is being dealt with on a daily and weekly basis, and it's not something that's happening all the way down at the end of like the month. You're 10, 15, 20 days into the next month before it happens, and you deal with it, right? So again, and then now you're also, what else are you going to do? You're going to align your accounting and your operations. So again, those weekly meetings with your operations team, right? The actual PMs, the ops team, and your finance, so that we can see where the projects are, what's going on. What have we? Oh, we're getting invoices. Oh, well, those, that contractor didn't finish the work. Okay, well, we won't pay them, right? Your finance doesn't know those things. Those are the little things, the communications that need to happen between your accounting and your operations team. So that's why they both need to be aligned. And your last thing is, you need to focus on being aware of what's happening earlier instead of, oh, I made a perfect forecast. So such thing as a perfect forecast, they change all the time. You want your forecast to be as close-ish to what you think it's going to be. But again, if you are 3, 4, 6 weeks behind in your financial reporting, that forecast almost means nothing because you're not really able to forecast out. So again, it's your KPIs. It's keeping all of your leadership, connected so that they're all working together and not in silos. It's the simple dashboards that you need in order to share, general information between each of these teams so everyone knows what's going on. And again, it's not about perfection with the forecasting and the estimating and the budgeting. It is about getting that data so you can determine what it should be and being able to actually develop out these things with that information that you have. And again, it's not, you're building out forecasts based off of ancient information. And at that point, there are a number of things that have changed, and your forecast really means nothing. All right. So, you really should be, we want to see you make better decisions when it comes to your financial visibility, right? We want you to become proactive. We want you to be able to get ahead of the things that are going to happen in your business instead of reacting to all of the, oh goodness, all these things have happened and now the world's turned upside down, right? Let's get ahead of it and be able to, when you get ahead of it, actually have, in most cases, have a couple more options available to you. Fortunately, if you're reacting to what's happened, you typically are getting stuck with one crummy option, which no one really likes. So again, this is where all of the financial control in your business really needs to start. You need to see the numbers. You need to see them early. You need to actually be able to do something with them. If you can't, then it really just is an exercise in just a project for people to do. All right. I'm looking forward to seeing you here every week. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week.